The Sandy and Toddcast is a Mindgarden Media podcast in association with
Screw You, Todd
Productions.
Broadcasting from two very different yet magical places not found on any map. Get ready to discuss the strange, weird, ghostly, crazy, spooky, and odd things that take place around us each and every day. All while having a little bit of fun. This is the Sandy and Toddcast.
Welcome to the Sandy and Toddcast. She is Sandy.
He is Todd.
And today we're trying something a little different.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever seen anybody do this or heard anybody do this, especially on a podcast.
Yeah, I thought it was a great idea, and it's not too different from like the Estes method or like going in another room. You know, I mean, it's somewhat similar, actually.
Right. And after we kind of briefly discussed it on the air last week, I sat down and I thought about it, and I thought it actually is a fantastic idea because what it does is it can also test, and we're always saying how, I mean, it's kind of been proven in a weird way that we are very connected. And so wouldn't it be interesting if we were able to pull this off from like 3 states away? So I thought, okay, let's really give this a chance and see how it does. I don't know if anybody else has ever done something like this. I'm sure somebody somewhere has, but it kind of reminds me of like a Michelle Belanger or a Chip Coffey doing the remote readings.
Yeah.
We're just kind of doing this remotely, the sort of the Estes method remotely.
So we discussed last week on the podcast, in case you missed it, that we were going to, because we talked about spirit boxes last week.
Right.
And Sandy has done some spirit box sessions to try and connect with family and loved ones. And she seems to have gotten some response. I've never done a spirit box session to try and contact my family members, more specifically my mom or dad. And so we thought, what the heck, let's give it a shot and see what happens. So,
and let's just give everybody a little bit of a background story on this too. If you haven't, we've talked about it a few times actually, when it first happened, when we were on vacation in Door County, but also a couple times after that, we've referred to it. Dave and I and you guys were on vacation in Door County back in the summer of 2022.
Mm-hmm.
So about a year and a half ago, coming up on 2 years ago. And we went to Cana Island, which was one of the best experiences I have had in so long. What a gorgeous, gorgeous place. Even going in the tractor, the tractor pulled wagon over the rocks, and I thought my teeth were going to fall out. And even that was exciting because we were right in the middle of Lake Michigan doing it. It was so much fun. But you and I actually connected with your mom using a K2 meter and a Mel meter.
Yeah.
And that was really, really something. I think that was really, honestly, my first foray into communicating with someone that maybe I didn't know personally, but was very much loved and still is loved by someone that I love. So,
and also not in a location that she ever spent any time.
Right.
So, the whole theory of, they had a horrible death in this location and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, that kind of disproves that whole thing, right?
Yeah, my thoughts on that. I'm not a big believer that anybody is actually truly stuck there in any location physically. In my own personal experience, people who have passed on, who are now spirits, who are conscious spirits, I believe that if they're in one location, it's because they're mentally, emotionally, intellectually binding themselves to that location. Your mom, to me, was just a great piece of proof to me that theory is most likely the truth.
Yeah.
And so I just was so amazed, and it was such a life-changing moment. It made me really rethink a lot of things. And so it was just a wonderful moment. So we're going to try it again.
So
Only this time, a little bit different, obviously.
yeah, we're going to be using an SB7, which I've got set up here in my studio. I have it mic'd, so we'll both be able to hear it, and our listeners will be able to hear it. And, what we're going to need to do is listen to it, obviously, while we ask some questions. And you've got a K2 set up by you. I've got a K2 set up by me. Lorna, our good friend from the UK, reached out to me, and she said, I'm really excited to see how this works out for you. She said, I'm getting some messages that I don't want to share with you right now. I will share afterward, because she didn't want to muddy the water and,
Beautiful.
But she also said, make sure she created a deck of cards. And they're breathe, balance, believe cards. And she said, I'm being told to tell you to have them by you. So we may need to pull a card or something like that at some point. So
Beautiful.
Yeah,
I love it.
We'll see how this goes. This will be interesting, because I feel like there's going to be a lot of time when we're not talking, because I like to kind of settle in like you do, take some time to get the energy, whatever. So
Right.
interesting.
So, Todd,
interesting. I just got a hit on the K2 meter.
Nice. Very cool.
And I
Now,
have not gotten any in this room at all.
which is so cool, because we were just talking about this before we went on the air, but I had my K2 meter in one spot that was not going off, and then all of a sudden it started going off. I think that was environmental, so I've moved it. It hasn't been going off now. So now we know. Now it's not near my phone, for example, that's on airplane mode. So if mine goes off, let's see if they go off together, which would be even cooler. Before we get started, though, Todd, just explain to everybody about the SB7 and how it's set up.
So the SB7 is basically it's a radio that I'm going to shuffle forward through it for at least part of our session, and it will go at a relatively quick speed, and not the fastest speed, but the second fastest speed that you can slide through on. We just got another hit on the K2.
Interesting.
Mom, Dad, if you're trying to communicate with me now or somebody else, we will be contacting and conversing with you in just a second. And so that is hooked up to a speaker. I've got a microphone in front of the speaker, and we'll be asking some questions, and hopefully we can join energy from across the miles in order to put our energy into this session.
I'm sitting here with my fingers crossed in front of the camera. I'm very excited about this. Let's see what happens.
We've never done a K2 together, or SB7 together, have we?
We did at Ed Gein's. I always laugh when I
that's
say this.
right.
At Ed Gein's grave. We did in Plainfield, Wisconsin, when we visited the cemetery and visited Ed Gein and his family, his brother, his mother, his father. So we did then, and we got a few things. Then too. So, but this is our second time, and this is really the most pronounced time, because it's actually loved ones. And your dad, it's important to note too that your dad hadn't passed yet when we were at Cana Island.
Correct.
Your mom, and you had a feeling that she might come through that day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's very interesting as well.
So I'll just be upfront. I really haven't had any communication with them at all, probably since that time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very skeptical whether we will actually have anything today.
I don't know. It's interesting too, though, that you say that, because my grandparents, I haven't had any communication with them at all, other than when I was at the Metaphysical Expo in Saranac Lake last November, and I went to the gallery reading that Christina Bloom did, and she pulled them forth for me.
Oh, big K2 hit.
Really?
Big hit all the way into
Really?
yellow. Yes.
Wow. Was it my grandparents? Are my grandparents here? That's really odd. Maybe it's something having to do with you and I, Todd. Maybe our energies mesh, and that wouldn't that be cool if that was sort of a conduit for us to be able to contact our loved ones?
Let's see. Is someone trying to use the K2 to communicate with us right now? If you are, spike one of our K2 meters just like you just did.
You can touch it. You can come in proximity of it. You don't have to be afraid of it at all. It's not going to hurt you. Is someone that we love dearly? Is someone here? Would you like to communicate with us? Are you waiting for us to communicate with you, to give you a means to communicate?
It just went off. Should we start the K2 session? Is that what you'd like us to do?
Would you like to talk to us?
Is whomever's using the K2, are you trying to communicate with Sandy today? Are you trying to communicate with me today?
Jerry, are you here?
Dad, are you around?
If you're here, just come forth. It's okay. We ask you to come forth with love and light.
It just went off.
Oh.
Is this another family member or someone else that's not related to us coming through right now?
You're welcome to come through as well. Any good, kind energies, loving energies are welcome to come through to communicate with Todd and I today. You don't have to be afraid.
And you can communicate in many ways. You can use the K2, which is here on my desk with the green light on it. You touch that or get close to it, and it'll go off. Sandy has one. What color is yours? Is it black?
Mine is black. Probably is. I think it's the same as yours.
Same as mine, but yours is black?
Yep.
And I'm going to start the K2. I'm going to start the SB7 now, and we'll start asking questions with that. And I'll do my best for our listeners to adjust the volume so that you can hear us and the K2. Stand by. Okay, we've started the K2 session, so the machine is scrolling through.
Is anyone here right now that wants to speak with us? Was that you lighting up the K2 meter?
That was a lot.
That was a lot. And don't forget, in theory, there shouldn't be more than a syllable or so at a time.
My K2 just went off. That was 4 syllables earlier.
How many of you are here with Todd and I? Are Todd's mom and dad here?
I'm real?
I'm real. You're here with us now? Is this Todd's dad?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, I think it said.
Marvin, are you here right now? K2 just went all the way to yellow.
Marvin, I never got to meet you, but this is Sandy. It's good to not talk to you now.
Dun, dun, dun. There was 4 there again.
4 there.
Dad, if you're with us, thanks for coming to visit. Do you want to know what the price is of gasoline?
It's interesting because the male voice is the same voice each time.
Seems to be.
Are you okay?
K2 just hit when you asked that question. Dad, we miss you, but we're very happy that you're no longer suffering from dementia. That was a horrible time, wasn't it?
But you were still there, right, Marvin? You knew what was going on, right? Are you with Jerry?
Is she still mad at you for getting sandwich crumbs in the sink? That's
was
4 again.
interesting.
Yeah, that was 4
That was-
again. K2 hit.
Do you miss life? Do you miss your physical body?
Dad, if you are here with us, can you tell me what your nickname was on the railroad and on the CDs? Mom, are you with us today?
Downstairs?
That's where I am.
Are you downstairs with Todd right now?
K2 just went off.
And I heard yeah. I heard a male yeah. Are you in the room with Todd right now? Downstairs? Yes.
Dad, can you tell me what your CB call name was, please?
You can build up energy. You can build up enough energy. We'll wait.
Dad, if you're here, would it be okay if Mom came through too?
Yeah. Jerry, can you come through to us? Do you remember me? Are you two together now?
Can you tell me what the name of the house was? Remember, Jim Warnbeer made a sign for above the garage. Can you tell me what that said? K2 hit. That sign hangs above my garage now. Can you tell me what it says on that sign? It's in the form of a goose.
I heard goose.
You heard goose?
I heard goose.
What are the words that are
female.
on the goose? I'm going to pull a card from my friend Lorna's card deck. I'm going to pull 2. K2 hit. I'm going to pull card number 12 for the month of Dad's birthday.
Ooh,
That was a long one.
that was long. What is that? Was like insistent.
Yeah, it came twice, right?
Yes.
The card was Seek Higher Guidance.
Marvin, are you there with your father, George?
Can you tell me, Dad, can you tell me your mom's name?
Can you do me a favor? Can you do something for me, please, and try to say Todd? That was it.
You heard it?
I just heard Todd.
How about calling me by the name that was on my baby spoons? The name you almost gave me because a neighbor wanted you to call me this. K2 hit.
Jerry, can you say Todd?
Is there anyone else here that isn't Jerry or Marvin? Grandma Deering, are you here?
No. George, are you here? Ferdinand, are you here?
K2 hit.
Ferdinand Joachim Deering, are you here?
His middle name was Joaquin?
Yeah,
What the hell?
I know. Just an aside, everybody, I did a little research on Todd's family.
Like Joaquin Phoenix kind of thing?
Joachim, Joaquin. What was that?
I don't know.
We're going to listen to this afterwards, too, the audio.
And our listeners should listen too and let us know what they hear.
Yes. Who's here with us? Can you tell us your name? We know that there's someone here with us. Don't hide. Please don't hide. Tell us who you are.
K2 hit. In 1977 at Christmas time, the family had a very special present. Can you tell me what it was?
And what you called it?
Did that say Frosty?
It sounded very much like that. A very fast version of it. It was a female. Did you say Frosty? Can you say that again for us, please? Is this a good way for us to communicate with you?
K2 just went off.
Do you like this way of communicating with us? Should we do this again? Sounded like something away.
I thought I said something run away.
Run away, something away.
Do you want us to go away?
Hang on, I'm going to try something. Hold on, I'll be right back.
Okay. While she's doing something, I'm going to reverse the SB7. K2 hit. What did you do?
Since this is going pretty well, I grabbed the Tempest.
Okay.
Hang on, hold on. I'm just going to put it in the right mode. Because we don't want it to be Spanish mode. Okay.
Yeah, I can't imagine my dad saying "Si, senor."
Jerry, Marvin, anyone else?
Wait, what was that? Was that your?
Yeah, it was my Tempest. It said hard.
I thought it said hi.
No, it said hard. Jerry, Marvin, anyone else? Are you here with us right now?
K2 hit.
Awful lot of phrases coming out of there.
Yeah.
Which is not typical. So that's interesting.
Just letting our listeners know that I'm pulling out my Great Lakes Oracle deck since Cana Island is connected to the Great Lakes.
Great idea.
I'm going to shuffle these. Mom, Dad? What did that say?
It said order.
Sandy has a new device. If you can channel through me to her, you can speak through that too.
You can pick the words that you want it to say.
Keep it clean. K2 hit. Mom, do you still think Sandy's a nut job?
Thank you, Todd.
Well, she did last time, remember? She laughed at that.
I know. That was pretty funny, actually. I said, check out your son. He's kind of crazy, too. Are you two together on the other side? Do you visit Todd when he doesn't know?
What did that say?
Film.
I just chose a card for my Great Lakes deck. It doesn't make any sense to me, but maybe you can say... K2 hit. You can say what's on this card to verify that you're here.
Track. I got track. Can you say my name? Sandy?
We'll keep speaking with you, but we're going to stop the SB7 here shortly. Give you one more chance. Tell me what's on this card, please.
I got old-fashioned.
That's interesting. I'll explain. K2 hit. Am I right by thinking that's what it is, Dad?
Do you want us to talk to you again this way?
So you got old-fashioned.
Yeah.
And again, we talked about this last week. You don't want to try to create things in your mind to make them fit.
Right.
But my dad loved brandy old-fashions.
Really?
Yeah. And when you said old-fashioned, we got an immediate hit on the K2.
That's interesting.
So, again, not trying to read too much into it. Don't want to do that.
Right.
But we got two little things there that kind of tie in a phrase or a word, and the K2 hit at the same time.
Well, it's very interesting. In and of itself, that may not have been a big deal, but a lot of times I find that the best way to look at something isn't teeny tiny individual things, it's in context. So if we review this audio and we do indeed hear some of the things, the phrases, the words that we thought we heard, and it seems like there are some intelligent responses, then in context, old-fashioned would actually not be reading into anything. It would indeed be just one part of that entire conversation that we may or may not have just had. I think overall, just having experienced it and not reviewing it yet, I do think that there were several intelligent responses in there. It'll be interesting to listen again and see.
K2 hit.
If I most certainly feel like there was somebody with us, but
And they still may be.
And they still may be. I wonder, let me ask, do you stay around Todd all the time? Do you visit with Todd all the time?
What did that thing say?
I said, don't do it. Do you visit with Todd a lot?
What the hell is that thing saying?
To transform your opinion. I don't know what that means.
So you're around me to transform my opinion of something?
Of the afterlife?
K2 hit.
Is everything wonderful where you are? Are you yourself again? If this is Marvin, can you make that K2 light up again?
Dad, I know that you were a lineman. You know about how electronics, man, you had so many meters in our house growing up. It was crazy. I want to give you an opportunity to play with this meter one time. I'm going to give you a count back from 3 to 1, and then you manipulate this thing. Make it look like those Christmas lights you were always trying to fix. Ready? 3, 2.
Running away fast.
3. Dad, let's try this. 3, 2, 1. Light it up. And it just went off. I swear to God.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Marvin, was that you? Can you light it up for us once more? I know we're asking you to do a lot.
Dad, remember you would do the whole, I see it here, but I don't see it there. I don't see it there. Can you light that meter up one more time?
You are not alone, I just got.
3, 2, 1. Can you light that up, Dad?
Take your time if you need to build up your energy. That's crazy, Todd. Can you do it one more time for us, please?
A little bit right there.
Good. He might be building up his
Maybe.
energy
Could
again.
be. But I wish I would have had a camera on that to prove it.
I know.
But I saw it, so I don't
That's okay.
care, right?
That's what's important. That's what's important. I think a lot of people are so stuck on proof, and I understand that. We all are. But what's really, really important is the personal experience,
So very interesting. I'm really drawn to this Great Lakes Oracle deck. I love it so much. And the card that I drew, in my head, I'm thinking, if I pull a lighthouse out, I'm going to lose my shit, right?
Right.
Because that would connect so many things in the story.
It sure would.
But for some reason, I got the Mariner. And I don't know what that means exactly.
Well, okay. This may be a stretch. This is just the first thing that's coming to my mind. How would I connect that with the story? Wasn't the lighthouse the beacon?
Sure.
For the ship's captain?
Sure.
So maybe there's a connection there. The Mariner needs the lighthouse as a beacon to draw it in the right direction. Just first thought that came to my mind, but there could be a connection there. Interesting.
I just sent a message to Lorna in the UK. Because this is basically what she told me. She said, if anything comes up that you don't understand, let me know. If it makes sense to me, I'll let you know. What else did she get?
Yeah. Well, I'm interested.
I have a good feeling for you today. Had a couple of weird thoughts. She felt like her dad might be around today too. I'm not going to say any more because there are ideas popping in my head, but I don't want to influence anything.
Interesting.
And I haven't gotten any more K2 meter hits.
I feel like whoever it was, and I feel like it most likely was more your father than your mother.
Right.
Although I did hear some female voices coming through that may hold a few things, like the Frosty. I swear I thought I heard Frosty.
Got to listen to that.
I know. And that was a female. And so, but I'm much more convinced that your dad was more prevalent in this conversation. I really feel like there was a male energy coming through more strongly. It may be because your father passed relatively not too long ago. It hasn't been that long since he's passed.
About 14 months or so.
Yeah, that's in the grand scheme of things, that's not a huge amount of time.
In fact, it was January 2nd, so it would be exactly 14 months to the day.
Yes. Yeah.
And right about this time. Just after noon.
Wouldn't that be something?
Or so.
So, I don't know.
I mean, I don't know what to think about it. Well, yeah, I don't know what to think about it. Like, I'm so skeptical. Like, I want things to slap me in the face. I want you show me that lighthouse card, right? And you say Frosty, and you tell me Honker's Knob, which is the name of their house. Okay, Honker's Knob, and it was literally a wooden sign that was made that looked like a goose, and they had geese on their garage door, and now I have geese above my garage door and that sign above my garage that says Honker's Knob on it. If I would have heard that, or I would have heard Frosty for sure, I have to listen back to that. Or his nickname on the CB was Red Dog Charlie. So if I would have heard that, then we could have packed everything up, sold everything. And then I'd be like, all right, that was Dad, right? But we got some weird stuff like Old Fashioned and asking him to make the meter go off, and that happened. And
the meter was interesting. The meter was a really, really good tool to use in conjunction with this because it wasn't going off before. Not at all. The conversation.
Not at all. I had it on for a while, like a half hour before we even got on, and nothing happened during that entire time.
I personally feel like there was a male coming through fairly strongly. Was it your dad? We can't be certain. We may never be certain, but we might have more clues as we listen back to this. A lot of times, as I've experienced in doing these, you don't really fully hear what's going on in the moment because you're concerned with thinking of what you're going to say next, or, what the other person's reaction is, or, any number of things. It's not until afterwards that you can kind of really look at the whole picture of something. So that will be interesting. And then next week, I guess we'll talk about what our findings were, if there was anything going on. I feel somewhat confident about this. I felt like there was a male coming through. There most definitely was. What was interesting to me was the fact that there were so many phrases.
Yeah, or at least long words that had 4 syllables in them. Yeah,
that's kind of strange because, again, it defies, like, my experiences with the spirit box in the past couple of years, for my friend, for Dave's family, is, and previously in investigations, is that it kind of defies the whole logic and the whole theory behind the spirit box, that it's sweeping so quickly that it shouldn't really have full sentences.
Right.
It should just be 1, maybe 2 syllables, if that. So what they're using is the energy that's emitted from this constant sweeping. So that was interesting. I don't know. We'll have to see. I feel somewhat confident that somebody was communicating with us. I think time will tell after reviewing it whether we can attribute them to your mom, your dad, anyone, but we'll have to see.
I will also next week share what I find out from Lorna. I think she actually recorded what she thought. So I think there's actually audio of it, but she wasn't going to tell me anymore, and now she's not responding. But it's 6 hours later there, so it might be dinner time for them.
Yeah, right. So,
all right.
Oh, well, that was kind of neat, don't you think?
I think we should do that more often, right?
I do too. I really do. I feel like our connection was enough to keep us sustained through it. I don't know. I think it might be a really cool way to test theories and maybe visit with loved ones or people that we don't necessarily know personally. Great way to experiment. Let us know if you guys like this idea. We are more than happy to continue to do them occasionally. If you might have someone that you would like to know about, or who knows, we might be able to help you in that way. It's just kind of neat. So let us know if you like this episode. Let us know what you think we should do.
Perfect. Well,
that was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. I actually really enjoyed that. I didn't know what to
expect from it because I've never done this remotely with anyone. So I didn't know what to expect, but I thought it was pretty cool.
All right. We're going to wrap up the podcast here in a bit, but first we got to get to our spiel.
Find the Sandy and Toddcast on any of the platforms that you normally find your podcasts. Be sure to like the Sandy and Toddcast on Facebook to keep up on the latest goings-on, including each week's episode. Join our group, Stay Weirdos Friends of the Sandy and Toddcast, for even more fun. And finally, if you're thinking about starting your own podcast and just aren't sure where to start, Sandy and Todd can help with that too. Editing, producing, and consulting is what they do. Like Mindgarden Media on Facebook or email them at themindgardenmedia@gmail.com. And as always, thanks for being weird.
And we will be back next week. We will discuss any findings we have. And seriously, if you hear this podcast and there's something we missed that you hear, do me a favor. You got to do 2 things for us. You have to tell us what the question was, what you think you heard, and the time on the podcast. Give us the actual time on the podcast so we can look it up and listen to it for ourselves.
That would be so exciting. I would love to see. It's sort of like everybody's reviewing the evidence.
Exactly. And there have been times like, I remember back in the day, Ghost Hunters would do like a live Halloween edition, and people would be like live texting in what they're seeing and stuff like that. It kind of gets exciting.
It is. It is kind of exciting, so, and who knows what you guys might hear that we haven't heard or we won't hear. So. I like this idea.
This was a lot of fun today.
Yeah, it was.
All right. Until next time. Bye.
Bye.